$20,000. That's what's sitting in your savings account right now, and it's costing you $150,000. Every month that money sits there, it's shrinking. Your bank pays you 4%. Inflation is running 4.5%. You're not saving money, you're bleeding it. But the inflation drain isn't even the expensive part. The real cost is the $150,000 that money would have become if you'd put it anywhere else. You didn't save $20,000. You burned $150,000. And the people who told you to keep that fund? Your bank, your financial advisor, every guru on the internet. They all profit from you keeping that money exactly where it is. Let me show you. The first hidden cost is what I call the inflation drain. Here's how it works. Your savings account pays 4% interest. That's the best rate you can get in 2026. Sounds pretty good, right? But inflation is running between 4 and 5%. Let's call it 4.5. That means your real return, the actual purchasing power you're gaining, is negative. You're losing 0.5% every single year. Doesn't sound like much. Let me show you what it actually means. You have $20,000 in your emergency fund. Every year, inflation eats about $100 of its purchasing power. After 10 years, that's $1,000. After 20 years, that's $2,000. Your account still says $20,000, but it buys what $18,000 used to buy. You didn't protect your money. You watched it shrink, slowly, invisibly, every single month, and that's not even the expensive part. The second hidden cost is called the opportunity burn. This is where the math gets painful. That $20,000 sitting in your savings account could have been invested in an index fund, in the stock market, in something that actually grows. The S&P 500 has averaged about 7% annual returns after inflation over the long term. Let's use that number. If you invested $20,000 at 7% for 30 years, here's what happens. After 10 years, $39,000. After 20 years, $77,000. After 30 years, $152,000. You didn't lose $20,000. You lost $150,000. The money you saved cost you 6 figures. Let that sink in. And if your emergency fund is bigger, the math is even worse. A $30,000 emergency fund costs you over $225,000 in lost growth. You're paying 6 figures in opportunity cost to protect against something that almost never happens the way you imagine it. Now here's the part that should make you angry. The third hidden cost is what I call the bank's secret. Your bank pays you 4% on your savings. Thank you very much. Here's your interest. But what do they do with your money? They turn around and lend it out at 7% on mortgages, 8% on car loans, 22% on credit cards. Your emergency fund is the bank's working capital. They are using your money to make money. And they're giving you a tiny fraction back. The same institutions telling you to keep 6 months of expenses and savings are the same institutions profiting from you doing it. This isn't conspiracy. It's just business. Their business, not yours. You're following their advice because it makes you feel safe, but the safety is an illusion, and the cost is very real. Let me show you what this looks like over a lifetime. Meet David. David is 28 years old, makes $70,000 a year. He did everything right. He read the books, he watched the videos, he followed the rules. He built a $20,000 emergency fund and a high-yield savings account. He kept it there for 25 years, never touched it. Felt safe and responsible the entire time. He also delayed investing by 2 years while he was building the fund because the gurus told him emergency fund first, investing second. At 53, David checks his account. The balance still says $20,000. The interest has been matching inflation more or less. He didn't lose money. He didn't gain money. He just sat there. But here's what David doesn't realize. That $20,000 buys 40% less than it did 25 years ago. Inflation ate it, silently, gradually, every single year. And the $150,000 it could have become if he'd invested it, gone. Not stolen, just never created. David followed every rule, and it cost him 6 figures. Now you might be thinking, Okay, but I need that emergency fund. What if I lose my job? What if I get sick? What if my car breaks down? And you're right to think about those things. But let me ask you a question that nobody asks. What emergencies actually look like, and whether you really need $20,000 in cash to handle them. Let's actually look at what emergencies are. Job loss, medical bills, car repairs, home repairs. These are the 4 horsemen of the emergency fund. But here's what nobody tells you about each one. Job loss. The average job search takes 3 to 5 months. Sounds scary. But unemployment insurance covers 40 to 50% of your salary during that time. You don't need 6 months of full expenses saved. You need 2 to 3 months of the gap between your unemployment check and your bills. That's not $20,000. That's maybe $8,000. Medical bills. Here's a secret. Hospitals offer payment plans, most of them at 0% interest. You don't need $15,000 in cash sitting in an account. You need the ability to make monthly payments on a plan. Car repairs. The average emergency car repair costs between $500 and $1,500. You don't need $20,000 for that. You need $2,000, maybe $3,000. Home repairs. A new roof. A broken furnace. A flooded basement. These are real. But most major repairs can go on a 0% APR credit card with a 12 to 18 month payment window. You don't need the cash up front, you need a plan. Here's the truth nobody wants to say out loud. The emergency that requires $20,000 in cash within 24 hours is extremely rare. It happens to less than 5% of people in any given year. You're hoarding money for a worst-case scenario that statistically almost never happens the way you imagine it. And you're paying 6 figures in opportunity cost to insure against it. That's not being safe. That's being scared. And fear is expensive. So what's the alternative? Let me give you a framework. I call it the strategic safety net. Instead of one giant pile of cash doing nothing, you build 3 tiers of protection. Tier 1, your instant access fund. This is $2,000 to $5,000 in a regular savings account. This covers 95% of real emergencies. Car repair, appliance breakdown, unexpected bill, medical copay. This money is boring. It sits there. It earns almost nothing. And that's fine, because it's small. Tier 2, your free insurance policy. This is a 0% APR credit card with a $10,000 limit or higher that you never use, ever. Except for true emergencies. This card costs you nothing to hold, 0 annual fee, 0 interest if you pay it off during the promotional period. It's just sitting there as backup. If a real emergency hits, you put it on this card. Then you have 12 to 18 months to pay it off at 0 interest. That's not debt. That's a strategic tool. Tier 3, your growth fund. This is a taxable brokerage account with index funds. This is where the rest of your money goes. The $10,000, the $15,000, the $20,000 that would have been rotting in your savings account. Can you access this money instantly? No. It takes 3 to 5 business days to sell and transfer. But here's the thing. How many emergencies require $20,000 in cash within 48 hours? Almost none. Tier 1 handles days, 1 through 3. Tier 2 handles days 3 through 7. Tier 3 handles anything after that. You are fully protected at every stage. And the money in Tier 3 is growing at 7 to 10% instead of losing to inflation. Let me show you what this looks like for David. Remember David? 28 years old, 70,000 salary, followed all the rules. Now let's meet the other version of David, Strategic David. Strategic, David keeps only 5,000 in savings. That's his Tier 1. He has a 0% credit card with a $15,000 limit that he never touches. That's his Tier 2. He invests the other $15,000 immediately into index funds. That's his Tier 3. He also starts investing 2 years earlier than rule follower David, because he didn't wait to fill up a giant emergency fund before investing. Both Davids make the same salary. Both Davids save the same percentage. Both Davids face the same life. At 53, let's compare. Rule follower David has $20,000 in savings worth about $12,000 in today's purchasing power. His investment started later and with less capital. Total net worth, roughly $450,000. Strategic David has $5,000 in savings. His Tier 2 credit line is still unused, but his extra $15,000 invested 2 years earlier compounded to roughly $170,000 more than rule follower David's portfolio. Total net worth, roughly $620,000. Same salary, same number of years, same emergencies faced. Strategic David is $170,000 richer because he understood that safety isn't about hoarding, it's about strategy. Here's what I want you to do this week. Step 1, calculate your real emergency need. Look at your actual expenses. Subtract what unemployment would cover. Subtract what you could put on a payment plan. What's left? That's your real Tier 1 number. For most people, it's $3,000 to $5,000, not $20,000. Step 2, get your Tier 2 in place. Apply for a 0% APR credit card with a high limit. Don't use it. Don't even think about it. Just have it available. This is your free insurance policy. Step 3, deploy the rest. Everything above your Tier 1 minimum that's sitting in savings is a soldier sleeping on the job. Move it to a brokerage account. Put it in an index fund. Let it compound. Your money should be making you money, not sitting in a vault making the bank money. I know what some of you are thinking. What if I get sick and can't work for 6 months? What if everything goes wrong at once? What if I need that cash? And here's my question back to you. Would you rather have $20,000 in a savings account earning nothing, or $20,000 in investments that you can sell in 3 business days and that have been growing the entire time you owned them? One feels safe. The other actually is safe. The emergency fund isn't protecting you. It's protecting the bank. It's protecting the financial gurus who get paid to repeat the same advice everyone else repeats. Your safety net should work for you, not against you. David followed every rule and lost 6 figures. Don't be David. If this changed how you think about your savings, share it with someone who has a fat emergency fund collecting dust. They need to see this math. And drop a comment. Tell me honestly, how much is sitting in your emergency fund right now? I want to show you exactly what it's costing you over 30 years. Once you see this math, you can't unsee it.